Hey, it's Jamie. So, as you guys should already know, if you watched my introduction video, I am vlogging now. Today's video will actually be in two parts. The first one will be basic sewing supplies, and the second part would be a sewing tutorial. Going forth, my goal is to post an informational video on Sundays and a tutorial or DIY on Wednesdays. Additionally, with today's video about basic supplies, couldn't get my words out, I'm gonna post an infographic on Facebook that will include all of the items I mentioned today, plus some basic vocab, words, and like different things about stitches and what's not. So I'll link to that in the description. Okay, so I'm gonna try something new and overhead record to let you guys know all the basic supplies you'll need to sew just about anything. Start off with your basic supplies that you'll need. I'll start with cutting tools. Fabric scissors are your most basic cutting tool. You need a pair of good scissors. Next, I'll say a rotary cutter. A rotary cutter is good for projects where you're cutting a lot of squares and straight lines. Cutting tool I recommend are snips. These are used for cutting threads when you're finishing off items. This one did come with a little like cover for it to make it safer. Okay, so those are the top cutting tools I think you'd need. Next, I think you need a cutting mat. This one that I have is 55 by 32. It's pretty large. I'm sitting on it, the camera is sitting on it, everything I'm going to show you in this video is sitting on it. But it's really great because I work on the floor. I don't really have a large table to work on, so it gives me a nice surface to work on. I do own a smaller self-healing mat, which is what I recommend to start out with. The thing I'm gonna recommend are pins. Okay, you need straight pins. You need a pin cushion to keep the pins in. If you do make your pin cushion, I recommend using steel wool because then it sharpens the pins when you insert them. I made this little cute like jar pin cushion thing a few years ago. Yeah, and I think it was a really cool thing. I still use it. Other than that, I think you do need some safety pins. Safety pins are really good. First of all, I think pins are good for when you're resizing outfits. You can use safety pins instead of straight pins. That way when you take it off or when the person you're working with takes it off, they don't stick themselves. You need some writing utensils. Utensils, not utensils. Utensils. I have chalk and a water-soluble pencil. I don't particularly like using these. I more so use a regular pencil and a Sharpie. You just have to be careful not to mark anywhere that should be showing, which I do a lot, but I like using the Sharpie so much that I use it anyway. Next, we're going to talk about some measuring tools. So along with your cutting mat, you'd need a yardstick. But I definitely recommend a wooden yardstick just because it's thicker and easier to work with when you're using your rotary cutter. Of course, you need measuring tape. You can get these just about anywhere. Get at least one. I try to keep multiples because I do lose them pretty often. I don't know how. Yeah, a flexible measuring tape. Thread. You need thread to match whatever fabric you're using. I buy, once thread goes on sale, I buy any colors I don't have. Once I have a coupon for it, I buy a lot of thread because it's actually a pretty expensive sewing item if you think about it, and you always need it. Along with thread, you need bobbins. Your sewing machine will come with a bobbin, but I recommend replacement bobbins so that you can do some so you can have one to match each thread you have. Maybe you can see that better. I do try to wind a bobbin every time I get new thread, so that there is no need for me to do it as soon as I'm doing a project. You really need a seam ripper. Seam rippers are good for beginners because you will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. So you can take your seams out easily. If you don't have access to a seam ripper or can't find one, you can use a straight razor, which is a little more dangerous, but it can be faster. Next, you need extra needles for your machine. So I have like my regular needles, I have stretch needles, because when you start out, it is easier to make things with stretch fabric. Last but not least, you need a sewing machine. So I'm not sure how well you guys can see this, but this is my sewing machine. It's a Singer. I really like Singer sewing machines. My first one was a Brother though. As long as you have a sewing machine that has a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch, you should be fine. So that's it for the items I think you need for basic sewing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. Not going to say too much because it's already pretty long. I want you guys to like and subscribe and check out the tutorial I have coming up. I'm going to make the pants I actually have on, only in olive green. They're crushed velvet, tight, maybe like mid-calf, because I like that look right now. Just stay tuned and check me out. Thanks again for watching.